The United States has less than 5% of the world's population, but almost 25% of the total prison population. A significant percentage of the more than 2 million Americans incarcerated today are nonviolent offenders. African American men are far more likely to be stopped and searched by police, charged with crimes, and sentenced to longer prison terms than white men found guilty of the same offenses. To successfully reform our criminal justice system, we must work to strengthen the bonds of trust between our communities and our police, end the era of mass incarceration, and ensure a successful transition of individuals from prison to home. This year, through the Disparities in Health class and the Public Health Club, students, faculty, and staff at the university were able to participate in various initiatives regarding criminal justice reform.
As an executive board member of the Public Health Club, one of our initiatives was to collect books for A Voice for the Unheard, which was started by John Bunn to increase literacy rates in prisons. We also hosted a holiday drive for injury reentry where we collected clothes and toiletries to donate to those who were recently released from prison so they could become acclimated to society. A few years ago, I took Dr. Teddy's Disparities class, and we learned a lot about the different health disparities, and we also learned about Khalif Browder and his story. That really touched me in particular. Also, later on in the summer, we went to New Jersey State Prison where we took a tour, and then I got to see firsthand how things really were, and that really moved me to join PD Green. I've been working with PD Green for the past year or so, and I've had a really great experience. I get to tutor inmates so that they can prepare for their GED test, and I really get a great joy when they actually pass their test.
Being a part of the PD Green program has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life because the prison system is often looked down as a forget in society. So I know they appreciate us being there, and they learn so much from us, but I also gained so much knowledge about myself.
I think students should really get involved in the PD Green program because it's a great experience and it shows you the importance of education.
I needed to get my life purpose after being wrongfully incarcerated for 17 years. I was illiterate, I couldn't read at the time. But when I started to learn how to read, it changed my life, and it actually put me in a position to be empowered enough to want to fight for my innocence and for my freedom. My name is John Bunn, and I help promote literacy in schools and prisons. When I was 14 years old, I was wrongfully accused and convicted of a crime I had no knowledge of and had nothing to do with. It led to me being incarcerated for 17 years and then on parole for another 10 years, which was a total of 27 years for me fighting for my life. In the beginning stages, I was under the impression that the system was going to come to my aid because I was an innocent man. The deeper I went into my incarceration, the hope started to fade away. When I went to trial, my lawyer told me any questions or anything I had to write it down on a piece of paper. And I sat there and couldn't write anything because I didn't know how to read and write. So it's like I sat there and watched my whole life flash before my eyes. So it like ignited a fire into me to learn how to read. When I was in prison, there was a teacher there that started showing me how to sound words out and taking special interest in me, giving me dictionaries and children's books to get me over the barrier. The process of learning took about 18 months. Reading was definitely a positive experience for me. It still is to this day. I found that there was a lot of guys that had this literacy issue. Because of my ability to read and write, I was able to help out other inmates and enhance their abilities. In 2018, I was able to get that wrongful conviction fully exonerated from my record, and now my life has a new leaf. When I actually got released, I started A Voice for the Unheard, which is a literacy program. It started out as a book drive. I collected over 80,000 books, and I distributed books to everywhere you can imagine, from youth detention centers to Ragged Asylum to boys clubs to community centers. Literacy is freedom, freedom of your mind. It's like you unlock your mental chains. Your mind get the privilege to wander the four corners of the earth. It's magical to me to be in a position to be privileged, able enough to do something positive. That's priceless.
It's no secret that the incarceration rate in America has skyrocketed since the 1970s. But did you know the number of women behind bars has grown nearly twice the rate of men in recent years? Why are we locking up so many women? The war on drugs has a lot to do with it. In the 80s, crack was the culprit. Thousands of African American women were caught up in the system, many because of the so-called girlfriend problem, where a woman would take the brunt of the charges when she unknowingly assisted a boyfriend or relative committing a drug crime.
In May 2018, I graduated from William Patterson University with my bachelor's degree in public health education and psychology. And in March, I always wanted to own my own business. I'm an entrepreneur by heart. So I started a nonprofit, and this is what is the name, A Woman's Worth Project. A Woman's Worth Project. And what it is to help women coming from prison transition back into society. That's a hard thing because it wasn't hard for me, but for many women that I've seen in prison.
Just people in prison,
people in prison, period. But me, I can speak for women because I'm a woman and I was there with women. It's hard because you're labeled. You know, even still today, if I was to ever get locked up, I would still be that number that I was.
Yeah, they'll judge you.
Yeah. So to start my nonprofit, I'm now a resident of Georgia. Douglasville, Georgia, and my nonprofit is to help women transition back into society. That's my slogan. Transition back into society. You know, I want to help women get everything they need and to feel that their worth is, you know, they're still worth something.
Yeah.
Because without us, there's no men, there's nobody.
Put yourself in these shoes. You're 18 years old growing up in Newark. You have supportive parents, but your addiction to drugs just takes over. For 23 years, Leon Cummings says he's been going in and out of prison.
Drug selling, trying to, so-called pay my bills. I had a burglary charge. When I was younger, I had a armed robbery charge.
According to the report, quote, nationally, it has been shown that over 3/4 of formerly incarcerated persons have substance abuse issues, and more than 1/3 have mental or physical disabilities. But between 1/3 and 1/2 of individuals do not receive treatment for their chronic conditions while incarcerated.
When I first went to prison, slowly but surely they were cutting programs.
Governor Jim McGreevey, chairman of the New Jersey Reentry Corporation, says their program wants to tackle those issues once inmates are released. He introduced a new report to this room that finds there are 2 big things that need to be done in order to have former prisoners succeed. It's access to health care and education to train for a career.
They're walking out of the system, and we give them these opportunities immediately. We maintain their sobriety, maintain structured housing, help them with their legal issues, keep them connected to health care. But most importantly, we understand for long-term sustainability, it's employment, employment, employment.
All things Edwin Ortiz told us he didn't have when he was released after spending 30 years behind bars.
It's frustrating a lot of times when you come home and you're trying to find a job, you're applying for work, you're trying to find housing, and people discriminate against you because of your criminal background. They don't want to give you that chance.
Ortiz was convicted of felony murder when he was 19 years old.
I started using drugs, exploring, with different drugs, and I became addicted. And to support my addiction, I had to commit, crimes, and that's the path that I chose. During the course of an armed robbery, unfortunately, someone lost their life.
He says the New Jersey Reentry Corporation changed his life and allows him to help other people not make the same mistake he once made.
I made decisions that I shouldn't have made, and unfortunately, someone lost their life. And that's something that I live with each and every day, and that's something that motivates me each and every day to become a better person.
What does the program cost?
It's $2,200 per client. $2,200 per client.
To put that into perspective, the report says, quote, it currently costs the state of New Jersey $53,681 to incarcerate one individual for 1 year. And more than half of the people released from prisons in New Jersey, the report shows, are rearrested.
This isn't a Democratic or Republican issue, it's an American issue.
So put yourself back in Leon Cummings' shoes. You were released from prison a month ago. You know you need to change.
I blew a good relationship with my wife and my daughter, and I miss my family a lot.
And after 23 years, you're given help, a second chance, a chance you're not going to let slip away.
Working with Jada Fillmore at NJ Reentry has been a great experience. I was able to take what I've learned from my health disparities class and see how the criminal justice system actually works and the need for more reentry programs. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Jada.
Last semester, I had the pleasure of interning at New Jersey Reentry with Jada Fillmore. I was able to assist clients with filling out job applications, fixing their resume, and work with them one-on-one. It was a very rewarding experience because I was able to see the various aspects of the criminal justice system. Thank you, Jada.
On any given day, across all of New York State, there are 25,000 people caged like animals. And 67% of those folks are legally innocent.
When you have a man that goes to prison, it's not just that person that goes to prison, it's the entire family.
When my son was incarcerated on Rikers Island, he was tortured, abused, and punished before even he was found guilty.
We believe that the solutions need to be driven by the folks who are most harmed and impacted by these awful systems. You need us right at the table.
This is our story. We gotta fight it.
The biggest problem with how bail works in New York State is that most of the folks who are caught up in the criminal justice sector are poor folks who can't afford bail.
I was a 16-year-old incarcerated in Nassau County Jail, and the bail was $4,000. My mother, she couldn't pay the bill off because she's a single parent, and she had to take care of the household.
It's like trying to cage a bunch of animals and prosper from them just sitting there. Every day is $1 for New York City or New York State.
And people in low-income neighborhoods are being held in jails, unable to prepare a defense for themselves.
My son was there pre-trial for 6 years. I realized then that we do need a speedy trial law.
Speedy trial is supposed to be in the Constitution, but we live in this country where they pushing it, especially in New York State, that they have you sitting for 2.5 years without even seeing your evidence.
New York State's regressive, horrible discovery law has so many implications on folks who are trying to align for themselves a fair shot at innocence and freedom.
My son, during his incarceration, had no access to anything.
District attorneys and the prosecution hold all the cards and hold this information from these defendants, hoping that they will take these plea bargains.
Lack of speedy trial forces people into having to take a plea when, in fact, they may be totally innocent.
People who are presumed innocent, people who are before trial, should not be treated as though they need to be punished.
There are a lot of people that don't get the proper discovery or who are not given a speedy trial, and they sit there and they literally rot.
He was in limbo for 6 years, and that deteriorated his mind. He was not even a human anymore.
It damages the entire fabric of a human being. The trauma that's caused after that is also monumental in a lot of cases.
Our criminal justice system must keep all communities safe, foster prevention and rehabilitation, and ensure fair and equal justice. But in too many places and in too many ways, our system is falling short of that mandate and with devastating consequences. The United States is saddled with an outdated, unfair, and bloated criminal justice system that drains resources and disrupts communities. Today's forum is meant to serve as a catalyst to begin a much-needed conversation at William Patterson University to determine how we can best contribute to the criminal justice reform movement. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly.